Good morning. It's me, it's Obli, and today I'm talking you through. Actually, I'm not really going to be telling you, but we're going to have a discussion. I'm going to speak at you. But we're going to be talking through all the bosses in the upcoming raids and what I think, what spec is going to be good, what build is going to be good, and I'm also going to talk you through things like the cooldowns. And we're just going to chat really about where I think specs will shine and what builds will be really good. So, here I am in the game. What I want to do is grab up the raids. So, midnight raids. We are lucky enough to have 3 raids. Now, even though we have 3 raids, all the bosses they kind of make up the total that you would normally get. So, I think in the Void Spires, the biggest one, you have 6 bosses. 6, 7, 8, 9. So, you've got 9 bosses in total in this season. Pretty cool. Now, the question is, and the question that is on many DK's lips, is what spec is going to be better in the new season? And my honest opinion from first glance is that you are going to be playing, if you want to play the absolute best spec for a fight, you're going to be switching between Unholy and Frost. You're probably not going to be sticking on one. Now, currently, on one hand, you have Unholy that does very good single target damage. Excuse me. And then you have Frost, which does pretty good cleave. But the issue with Frost at the moment is the highest simming cleave build is Frostbane, and that's very RNG related. It's not very good at target switching, and it fully relies on Frostbane proccing a lot. Whereas Unholy, there's very minimal RNG when it comes to Unholy, really. You know when your cooldowns are, you know when to press them. So I'm going to walk us through the bosses, and I'm going to give you my opinions on what bosses are going to be good for what. Now, I also have a little document which shows, a little document which shows when like certain cooldowns coming, and whether or not they align with the certain damage profiles that each spec has. So let's start off with Imperator Averzian. Now, alongside this, I'm going to be showing you videos. Now, this is a video from Shoutout. Shoutout Shoutout. He's such a good content creator, and he's also a guide writer for DHs. I'm going to be using your kill video of this mythic boss. Hope you don't mind, mate. If you do, let me know. But anyway, I'm going to be using a couple of his videos today. I'll leave a link to his channel down below. So, the way that I'm preparing for Imperator Averzian is I want to see when the cooldowns or when the ads come to try and align them with the cooldowns. So, first off, as soon as you pull, for about 20 seconds, it's just single target damage. This is okay, fine, but after the main mechanic of the fight happens, you get some ads. Let's actually just speed that up. Because you don't need to watch the whole thing. We just need to kind of get to the point where there's major mechanics. So after this, so it's not 20 seconds. My apologies. It's more like a minute. So let's skip through. Blah, blah, blah. So after this, when you complete this mechanic correctly, some ads will spawn from the final portal. Excuse my voice. I feel really raspy as soon as I started speaking. So now you have to say to yourself, what cooldowns would be appropriate to use here? As a Frost DK, you have an immense amount of AoE burst that you can put out here. I would say, looking at these ads, a breath build would be really decent here because you could just send it. Because this is 1 minute 15, roughly, you can just send your pillar on pull, and then you can save your cooldown, your breath for these ad spawns. Now, aren't you lucky people? Because I am currently creating boss timelines that align with our cooldowns and when to press them, so that you guys have a clear indicator of when to do it. So if ads spawn at about, well, granted there was a 10-second pull timer at the start, so instead of 1:15 it's more like 1:05, 1 minute. You can safely just pillar on pull, save it with breath until about 1 minute when the ads spawn, and then just let it rip here. Now, you could also say that Unholy would do really well here because of the graveyard spam that you can do. But I think, to be honest, because there's not loads of ads and they don't last for that long, as Unholy, you want to ramp. So I think Unholy kind of isn't great here unless it's massively overtuned on when it goes live. But from what it seems, Unholy and Frost are on par with each other. So the benefits of Unholy here would be just it's raw single target, which you might, if you were to play Unholy, you probably would just pop your cooldowns with Bloodlust because that's so big. But you don't have much of a 45-second window. With Sand Lane, you have a bit better of a 45-second window compared to Rider. But I wouldn't say that it's so strong that you would hold anything or that it'd be worth it. So in my opinion, I think Frost will be a clear winner here because it's got good cleave and there is plenty of cleave. if we then look at when the ads spawn again, it's 225, which roughly lines up with breath. If we skip to about 225, so here, it's a 10-second pull timer. By the time everything's shaped or gripped up, it will be about 225. So if you can make sure you're using your cooldowns on cooldown as much as possible, you will be able to line this up with your breath, because your breath only needs 5 seconds. By the time we get to the 5th second, the miniature ads are dead. So you kind of want to pop this breath a little bit earlier than 1 minute bang on, so that you can line it up with the 225 there and try and get some of those extra ads. But the worst case scenario, you're still cleaving onto 3 ads, full cleave. Obviously, it looks like these guys are dying quite quick, but it's because we sped the video up. Then again, if you look at 410, so let's go to 420 on the video here-ish. Lines up really nicely where there's loads of ads. So this is roughly, you're going to hold your cooldowns, because you would be able to pop your cooldowns at 4 by doing it at 230, and it'd be at 355 if you did it at 225. So you do want to hold your cooldowns here. You don't want to send this pillar, otherwise you're going to miss out. So you would hold and then slam for these ads and destroy them, absolutely destroy them. So I think a Breathbane build would be pretty fucking gnarly here. I think a regular Frostbane build, you would get some Icy Death Torrent ticks on it, and Icy Death Torrent does about the same damage as Breath over the course of like a Keystone. But because this is a raid fight and there's lots of burst, realistically I think you're going to be wanting to use Breath for that burst. Not to mention, Breath provides a shitload of priority damage, and you could even say maybe Deathbringer might be better than Rider here, because there's so much 45-second burst. Well, kind of. There would be an argument to say that if Rider's 1.5 minute burst is better than Deathbringer's, maybe that might be a play. But Rider is more like elongated AoE encounters, in my opinion, especially with Rider and regular Frostbane build. You kind of get those high numbers in keys because it's constant AoE all the time, all the time, all the time. Whereas with this, it's not that. It's burst AoE for Imperator Averzian. So, Imperator, I think this boss is going to be a Frost boss. And I think you're going to be playing Breath, probably Breathbane, just because Breathbane has pretty good single target with Frostbane. The only trouble here, its weakness will be its target switching, which, to be honest, these ads are pretty hefty. So towards the end of the fight, can be alright. But this fight has typically about 6 minute kill time. I think Shoutout killed it in 6 minutes. I would have my own footage, but unfortunately I raid during the times where the Mythic testing goes live. So I didn't even get to Mythic test these again. It's kind of sucks. I got to do Imperator. I got to do a couple of bosses Mythic beforehand, but this is more up to date, so I wanted to use this. Okay, so Imperator, this is your boy. Now, next boss, let's have a look at Vorasius. Let's give it in. Again, Shoutout, thank you very much. I will credit you. I'll make sure people know who you are. It's kind of a bit shit. Let me make this a bit bigger. I'm sure that's much easier to look at. Fuck me. Sorry, guys. Now, this fight is pretty much all single target with some spread cleave. Not a lot. It's like 2 or 3 targets that are away from Vorasius, so you can't even cleave off the boss, really. They're super far away. The ads come at about 105, 305, 510. So I would not build yourself around those ads. They are just free cleave if you can cleave, which for us and our damage profiles, no matter whether you're on Holy or Frost, I don't think you're going to be able to really utilise those ads at all. Not like an Affliction Warlock, not like a Shadow Priest can. We don't care. So in that case, the fight is now what does better in single target. So I would say, obviously, Unholy. Unholy owns in single target and it's not RNG, whereas Frost can own in single target, but it is RNG. It makes sense, complete sense to be doing Unholy here. So if I look at my Unholy timeline, the cooldowns are just completely normal cooldowns as well. There's no sort of funny business here. At minute 3, you even get a lineup with the ad. So if there's any cleave to be had, you can do it there. Mainly, I think it's going to be your mages that cleave. But honestly, the way that Magi cleave, which is like a chain lightning effect, I don't even think I'll be able to hit those ads, if I'm honest. But one good thing about Unholy is the target switching. Even though it takes a little bit of time for our pets to get to these ads, if you do have to switch to them, it would be way worse than being Frost and doing Frostbane, trying to do some damage to these ads. Frostbane, trying to restack up your Razor Eyes would be worse than the ads. Just your cool pets walk into these ads. So Typically, this boss has about a 5.5 to 6 minute kill time as well. So you're just going to be using your cooldowns on cooldown really as much as possible. You might even get a cheeky last burst if your group kill it a bit slowly and don't quite hit that 6 minute mark. But realistically, you're not doing anything different. It's just pure single target. So that being said, let's move on to Fallen King. Grab that. So let's skip ahead. So the way I'm looking at the timer, they pull bang on 10 essentially, and Fallen King starts with single target, but as the fight goes on, there's more and more and more and more ads. Initially, there will be, I think the first ads start at 15 seconds in, so it's Desperate Measures is what you're looking for. This ability spawns ads, and if we look at Desperate Measures, there's one orb, and then there's another orb somewhere else. There it is over there, slowly coming towards the boss. Doesn't matter which spec or profile we choose, our 2-target cleave is not great in either. I would argue that our 2-target cleave in Unholy is better than our 2-target cleave in Frost. But then you have to look at, okay, what's the weaknesses? Frost, you can potentially cleave Frostbanes off of the boss if the void is close enough. Unholy, you need to put a Festering Scythe on. Your dots will automatically apply themselves, but I don't think building yourself around the start of this fight is the correct thing to do, because ads will spawn every 45 seconds here. So Desperate Measures, you can see this ability here. This is on a 45-second timer, but it's a bit of an interesting cadence. Cadence? Is that how you say cadence? I think that is. With Fallen King, you have your burst, you're lusting on pull, everything. First one ad comes at 0.15, which is technically 2, but you're not going to be cleaving those two. It's not until you kind of get to this part, the 2 minute, 3 minute mark, where, oh fuck, let's get that back up. 2 minute, 3 minute mark, where there begins to be an actual good amount of ads that you can cleave off onto. Desperate Measures. Here, for example, you have 4 ads. They die quite quick, but again, we are watching it at a, is the playback speed? Oh no, it's normal. They do die quite quick, so it's not tons of cleave. Obviously, this group has really good DPS, so it's probably not normal for them to die that fast. So you do have a bit of extra cleave here. That was the Desperate Measures that was 20 seconds ago. So that would be roughly, looking at this, kind of the one that's here. So you're not even going to get that much benefit anyway, because you're only going to be sending your pillar. Now, by holding your cooldown, well, sending your cooldowns on cooldown here, eventually they line up. And that's because at 1 minute 30, back! Stop doing that, Obly. Idiot! At 1 minute 30, the boss will do its Cosmic Unraveling here. This sends the boss into sort of a intermittent phase where there's no ads, but all of his abilities are paused, and he restarts his cooldown timings when he comes out of this ability. So there we go, Cosmic Unraveling. Don't get hit by those lines, or you die. You also might want to AMS here. This is a pretty decent position for that. As DK. Definitely saving all your defensive for this, really. But afterwards, you can see Desperate Measures, the cooldown time has been paused. And once he comes out of this, he'll restart his cooldowns. 3, 2, 1, done. Now Desperate Measures counts down from 10 again. So it pushes the cooldowns back a bit. And because that first part of the fight, you don't even really care about your cleaving anyway, because you're not going to be doing much. It doesn't really matter too much. It makes our cooldowns line up real nice. By then, pillars lined up with the next set of ads. Then 45 seconds later, you will get a 3 minute burst, which will have breath attached to it. Let's skip to 3 minutes. The Desperate Measures that come here. There'll be quite a few ads that come off of this one, but it's once you get to about the 50% mark, this is when it's just shitloads of ads all the time, and this is where Frost will really shine. At this position, you can see they're quite far away because it's all the old collapsed voids that kind of res themselves, I think. This is kind of grouped up enough for a good breath burst, to be honest. I mean, you can grip these as well. Like, I could go over here, grip this one in the middle, and then all of a sudden I've got this line of ads just to molest. Let's put them back. See, like here, you'd just be braving. You'd be absolutely just shagging. But it's once you get to like 420. So let's go to 420. So 430. Bam. We will have breath and pillar here, and you will just be absolutely destroying. The DPS just goes up and up and up from here. You can see from Even the DPS, these Unholy DKs are absolutely destroying, but that's because at this point in the beta, Unholy was really, really strong. They've since been nerfed, so they wouldn't do the same thing. I think it'd be difficult. I think Unholy would definitely have a good time doing a lot of damage here as well, and it would kind of pair with the single target aspect too. But I think the fact that you can get a 45-second burst off of almost every ad phase that matters is really big compared to Unholy, which only can have like a big 1.5 minute phase twice. And that's about it. But at this point here, everything starts to line up. You've got 3 minutes, and then you have 3:45 where there's nothing because the boss is in its intermittent phase. Let's go to 3 minutes 55. Cosmic Unraveling here, 3:55. So you can just freely pop your pillar. But then you definitely save your cooldowns here, because 45 seconds later will be about 4:15. 5 seconds later, you have an ad wave spawn. Save your cooldowns for that. But now this is where the techers comes in. At minute 5, you can pop your pillar straight away on minute 5. However, if we go to 6 minutes in, the boss is in Cosmic Unraveling, and we could pillar here, but I would not suggest to do that, because as soon as Cosmic Unraveling is done, he will do Desperate Measures 10 seconds later. And in addition to that, you will be able to have your breath. So by sending your pillar here, if you sent your breath cooldown here around at the 6 minute mark, when it's available to you, you will not be able to breathe again before the boss dies, because it has roughly a 7 minute kill time. If you have a slower guild, maybe you can, but by saving your cooldowns here and just waiting, not really popping anything, I wouldn't even suggest popping pillar either, because then you misalign pillar and breath for this first burst here, and this bursting at 7, you may not even get a full one. So at minute 6, I would save your cooldowns and then burst in the next ad spawn, because at 6:20, I'll show you how many fucking ads there are. Look at that. All of these orbs are about to become ads that you can kill. And you're this close to the boss dying, you really don't want these ads to touch the boss. Look at that. 6:20. You definitely want to save your breath and pillar and everything for this to absolutely shag all of those. After that, hopefully the boss is dead. If the boss is not dead, you have a pillar to deal with the second wave of ads. So Fallen King, easily going to be a Frost fight. I actually thought maybe it'd be an Unholy fight, but since Unholy nerfs, it looks like Frost is definitely going to be king here. Let's move on to the next boss. We have Vaelgor. Now, I'm using a different channel now. I'm using the Honolulu Guild. I'm just watching your videos. I'm just going to comment on that. I hope that's okay. Thank you very much for doing this and putting these videos online so I can do something like this. So I'll credit you guys as well. But you can see here, these guys have a really good strat with the boss, where they keep the bosses kind of close together so that, well, mainly the group is in one in the middle, so that all the orbs spawn on top of each other, because this boss will spawn orbs from players' feet. I know a large majority of you people heard feet and instantly tabbed back into the video. The first orbs that spawn is about 25 seconds in, so in about a couple seconds time. Yeah, here we go. So you have all of these void orbs that need to die. They can be gripped just like that. At this point, I am creaming my pants if I am a Frost DK here. But you're also creaming yourself if you're an Unholy DK, because the graveyard spam is going to go insanely hard. But I wouldn't play Unholy on this fight, purely because these orbs spawn pretty fucking frequently. Let me grab the Vaelgor design, if you want to load. So you're going to Bloodlust at start, probably. Some guilds may choose to Bloodlust the manifestation that comes at about 2 minutes in. I don't know, probably not. I'm predicting Bloodlust at start. Add spawn at 25 seconds in, which means you'll still even have Lust. So I would say this is going to be similar to Forge Reaver, where you're not really going to pop your cooldowns until these ads spawn. Then bam, you're going to go full ham, breath, maybe Deathbringer as well here, because there's going to be so much bursty AoE potential that Rider may not have. Because there's ads every 45 seconds as well after this, you do want to have a 45-second burst window. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't find any videos that kind of lasted longer than about 3 minutes. So I could only give you really the first half of this. But if the first half of the fight just repeats itself, so you have this, and then you have the Midnight Manifestation. It's like a single target that spawns. And then after that, it's just rinse and repeat. Ads, kill, split the bosses. So roughly here, let's pause that. So roughly after this gives me like a good gauge of what you kind of going to want to play. I think Frost is going to do bits here. Roughly these ads will spawn, they might not die in time, and then you'll be able to line up your breath. But generally speaking, if you kind of hold your cooldowns at the start here, you will be able to line up your cooldowns of all the ads when they spawn. Not really this pillar, to be honest, but you are just going to pop this pillar no matter what anyway. So if these ads are still there 30 seconds later, you'll get some cleave. Great. But you do want to make sure that all your pillars are done on cooldown, because you do want to try and make this breath line up with these orbs if it's possible. After that, pillar on cooldown so that your breath always lines up. But that is Vaelgor Mythic. I'll show you quickly what the Midnight Manifestation looks like. If we skip to 2 minutes in. So 2 minutes in, all they've been doing is just been grouping up for these orbs, killing those orbs. Where is it? Here. Yeah. Sorry, my voice. I feel like I've got like some paper in the back of my throat or something. It's so weird. So that guy there is a manifestation of Midnight, and you just want to kill that as soon as possible to get out of this phase. But 2 minutes 13-ish. That's about, so this, yeah, I'd say this, maybe let's move that. It's more like in the middle here. So you could pretty safely just have your breath for that manifestation. And then about like 15 seconds later, some more ads will spawn. Just want to double check that that is truth and not lying. Yeah, there you go. So now they spawn 2:18, roughly 3 seconds they had on the pull timer, so 2:15, bang on. You could, I would argue, oh, Dragon's moved with me. Save your breath for the midnight, for the manifestation of midnight. As soon as that comes out, bam, just go to it, because there will be these orbs afterwards. So I would actually argue that this probably wants to be more like 2:10 mark. You probably can't press pillar here. The trouble is, if you do, I rescind it, I rescind that, I'm making decisions on the fly, I'm going off script, and it's a stupid decision, stop doing that, I'll play. If you do that, you will push your breath away from these orbs, and maybe you'd have to push that back down. With a bit more footage and a bit more testing, I would be able to give you a more guaranteed answer of what you should do here, but generally speaking, if you follow this timeline, you'll be fine. This is the cooldowns you kind of want to do. Can't wait for this boss to actually come out, so I can do a proper timeline for you guys. But the last one is Lightblinded Vanguard. Now, I haven't done a timeline for these because I didn't feel like it's really that necessary to do one. I did one for Vorasius, even though with Vorasius you're just going to be popping your cooldowns on cooldown anyway. But with this, you kind of just can do the same. It's 3 target cleave for a bit, then it's 2 target cleave for a bit, then it's 3 target. It's just back and forth. Now, with Frostbane, you're actually going to have a really good time here, because Frostbane procs super often on 3 targets, but not very often on 2. So the fact that there's even just a 3rd target, even if it's got a shield, that you can proc Frostbane off is really nice. So here, I believe you will definitely be playing Frostbane. It's also sustained target cleave, which means Icy Death Torrent will be really good here. You're just constantly going to be cleaving. Now, one thing I would say is there is a specific ability here called Blinding Light. This has a shield that needs to be destroyed before it just wipes the raid, essentially. Breath would be pretty good here, just to give you some single target priority damage that Rider, the Rider Frostbane sustained normal build, Icy Death Torrent build, probably wouldn't give you. But it would mean that you'd have to save breath for this. So, depends on your group comp. If your group comp doesn't really care about this shield and they can get it done pretty quick, I mean, if you just play the video, they do manage to kill it pretty well timed, like halfway through, so it's not that bad. If your group needs the damage, you could play breath and then unleash your breath then, but you do miss out on sort of that first pull. But they did hero for the shield as well, so if everyone's saving the cooldowns for it anyway, you may as well too. Don't think this is really going to be very good for Unholy, because it's 3 target cleave, and the 3 target cleave is not that impressive, to be honest. I think the cleave that Frostbane can provide would far outweigh, not to mention the fact that you can use your Frost Scythe, Remorseless Winter, all of that. Definitely think this is going to be good. So yeah, Lightblinded Vanguard, Frost, definitely. So that's Voidspire. Now, we don't have any footage for Crown of the Cosmos, so I can't show that. But we have Chimaerus the Undreamt God as well. So let's grab Chimaerus. I didn't actually get Where's my video of that? Stupid obli. I'm certain. Why didn't I have this up? There is. So, Chimaerus. I don't have a timeline for this one either, actually. This is kind of single target. I mean, in my opinion, you're not going to be doing a lot of burst ad killing, which is the damage profile that Frost is really, really good and really known for. You do get a bit of it at about 30 seconds in if you go down. So you see here, this person went down, and now there's some ads to kill. You could cleave, but they won't have any Razor Eye stacks, so Frostbane won't proc very often. And you're going to have to hold your cooldowns here, but they do die really fast. So I don't really know if it's even worth speccing around doing an immense amount of ad damage. But again, this is a good guild, good group. They have high, the gear is good. It probably makes sense that they kill it really fast. But in my opinion, you're doing a lot of single target. Like, that was a tiny ad wave. You're really not going to be able to take much advantage off of that. And you would have had to hold your cooldowns for that as well. Whereas here, I don't know. To me, it seems like single target. You have a tiny bit of ad cleavage, you can see there. It's a lot of target switching though. And Frost DK is not very good at target switching, which is my only sort of like worry about it. Especially if you go down first and then you're done, you're not really doing anything. Like you see here, you're not doing that cleave. Eventually it comes out and you can start to cleave. This would be the only point of the fight where Frost would do really well and maybe climb the rankings a bit. But this only happens like once. And then again, I think it happens at 2 minute 40, something like that. But we don't, Mage's Cleave could work here if you're unholy. Your ghouls just doing sweeping claws might be able to hit the boss. Can't really tell how big the hitbox is here, but then there's such a small portion of this fight. I just can't see it being important enough to spec like a full cleave build with Frost, because Frostbane is what makes Frost really good, and that needs sustained attacking, which this won't really have. So I think Unholy is going to be the play here. I'm not sure. This is the only fight where I'm like, this can go either one of two ways. However, I feel like if your group doesn't have very good ad killing damage and you playing Frost here, you're going to have a great time because you'll be able to do it all yourself. But I don't know about you, but from the footage that I've watched here, it seems like this is just going to be a majority of single target. So you're probably better off speccing single target with some light cleave. So like Menacing Magus, Blight Burst, that type of stuff. But the fight then rinses and repeats. There are some ads that come out during the phase here. Let's skip a little bit ahead. So at this point here, it's around about, I think the pull time was like 5 seconds, something like that. So about the 240 mark, you're not even going to have your cooldowns. You're not going to have your 1.5s. That's definitely for sure. No matter if you're Unholy or Frost, you're not doing a lot of damage here, unless you've held your cooldowns. If you've held your 45-second burst, then maybe Frost can get a decent amount of damage out here. But I'd say you probably want to be Deathbringer for this, because there's a point where the boss is up in the sky and you're not really doing anything. So you can't sustain your Frostbane. You're not going to have a Frostbane, really. You might do, actually. If you got really lucky, you might have a Frostbane. But to even get one on single target baseline is nuts. So I think Deathbringer actually would be pretty decent here if you need the ad damage. If your group is good at killing ads, Unholy will net you way more single target with that light cleave as well. So my opinion on Chimaerus, I'm probably going to start off playing Unholy on this and see what the vibe is, just to make sure that I'm doing good and meaningful damage. And if the ads need to be a bit more focused, I might switch to Deathbringer Frost. I don't see Rider Frostbane being super good here. I can see Deathbringer regular breath build being a pretty good choice for Chimaerus. Not to mention as well, Deathbringer breath build has really good like burst single target, which is good for this. Whereas Rider Frostbane can maybe have good single target if luck is on your side, which it often isn't. Whereas you won't need to worry about that playing Deathbringer breath at the moment. So I'd say that's probably your bet here. Final answer: Chimaerus Mythic, Unholy, just off the bat. However, if you need ad damage, Deathbringer Frost. Last but not least, we have Belo'ren. Now Belo'ren, again, I haven't made a timeline for Belo'ren because there's ads, but there's not ads that you're really going to give a shit about. This fight is a cycle of execute phases, which will be really decent for Sand Lane, but also really just decent for Unholy and in general, because we have pretty decent execute when you spec into it, which you will do, because this honestly is just a single target boss. You have these 2 spread ads on Mythic, and you as a player, you're never going to hit those. As a Frost DK player, sorry, DK in general player, you're just never going to be able to cleave onto those. So you have a second ad here. You can cleave that with maybe like Close Shadows, but both of them at the same time, you're not really going to worry about. So that egg as well, see, it's so far away now, the boss has been moved. I think at the start you managed to get like a tiny bit of cleave, but what I want to say is I wouldn't focus so much on a 2 target cleave build, because it's just not going to happen very often for you. Because if you're seeing the video, when the other ads spawn, they're kept quite far from Belo'ren. To make matters more interesting, you also hold Bloodlust and you hold a burst, and you really want to get some hard hitting heavy single target burst out with execute during the egg phase, which is exactly what Unholy has. So let's just watch the video and I'll show you what I mean. This Honolulu, they lust the egg. When they do this, get to where they need to be, they lust the egg, everyone's cooldowns, bam. Eventually you're going to really want to try and make sure that you nuke this as much as possible, and as Unholy you're going to have such a good time, because you have plenty of time to ramp up and just sit there. Your pets don't have to move. You can cast Soul Reaper for the extra pet damage as well during Bloodlust, which is brilliant. And then in the later phases, you're going to be one of the people doing one of the most amount of damage to it, executing it to death. But also you are executing the bird a lot as well, which is something that Frost doesn't really have. So, on one hand, Frost damage profile, really good AoE cleave, not great single target, not great 2 target cleave at all. This on Unholy side, you have good single target, and you have good execute, and you've got good burst single target as well. So you see here, this is what I meant. Those ads, so you have this guy over here, and then you have the other guy over there. How are you going to, you're not cleaving them bad boys. Like maybe you're going to get this 2 target cleave off for about, what, 20 seconds before this dies, and then you have the egg to kill. But if you're Frost right now, nothing is close enough to get hit by like Frost size, all 3 of them. It would only be now where you can actually get some 3 target cleave off. Just like, you saving your breath for this moment? Like, I doubt it. I don't know. Maybe it would work, but I can't see it being worth speccing your entire build over just this one moment in the fight where you may be able to group these guys up and do some damage. I think just going normal single target build with some light cleave would be the play here, because it's just 3 targets as well, which is nothing special. I mean, the 3 targets will get Frostbane to proc more, but you're doing damage outside of a point of the fight that really matters, and you really want that egg damage in order to be like good for your guild to kill the boss. Really, if you're looking for maximum amount of damage, you would definitely be hunting for those Frostbanes. The eggs need to die, don't get me wrong, but I can't see that one moment of the fight being worth sort of playing Frostbane over Unholy for, when Unholy can just do good damage the entire time and it's meaningful as well. So, in my opinion, I think Belo'ren is going to be a Unholy fight with maybe some menacing Mage's Cleave. Just chuck that in there and you'll be alright. But so far, all the bosses that we can see and we have tested, this is it. We don't have the Naru boss. What's the Naru boss called? I've forgotten. Midnight. Well, she's definitely not called Midnight. Lura. Midnight Balls Lura. We don't know what. Well, we kind of know what Lura's first phase looks like, and that is very single target, which would definitely be looking at Unholy. But if you just look at sort of like the model, you see that there are some crystals here. Whether or not these crystals get like healed or need to be killed, or there's like a group of them, maybe we'll find out. I mean, if it's ad waves, if it's like ad waves, burst ad waves, obviously Frost will probably do better. If there's shitloads of ads and mainly single target, but the shitload of ads only happens once every like minute and a half, probably looking at Unholy. And then if you go to the Void Spire, we also have Illyria that we don't know much about at all. We haven't even seen her at all. All we can do is kind of look at this, but it does say Void Droplet. You see here, Void Droplet will splash targets with Corrupting Essence when it dies, which I think there will be a lot of Void Droplets. We have these guys here as well, and I've got a feeling these will all have ads around them to kill and cleave off of, in which same rule applies. If it's constant AoE, constant burst AoE, Frost. If it's intermittent burst AoE that you can line up with your Raised Abomination and your Forbidden Knowledge, then Unholy would be better. If it's sustained ad cleaves all the time, Frostbane would probably be better as well. And don't forget, when you play Frost and you use Pillar, you have so many killer machines that you're almost always firing out Glacial Advances, so you almost always have Frostbane for ads. So even if you can line up your Pillar windows with ads, Frostbane, even though you need to be sustained and you need a lot of ads in order to proc it a lot, just by hitting Pillar, you instantly have such a higher chance of actually proccing and using Frostbane. So this fight just completely depends on that. I can imagine that there will be a lot of ads because of Void Droplet here, but let's conclude this rather long video. Imperator, Frost. Vorasius, Unholy. Fallen King, Frost. Vaelgor, Frost. Lightblinded Vanguard, probably Frost. And then Crown of the Cosmos, half and half, depending on the ad spawns. Frost or Unholy could go either way. Dream Rift, I think Unholy for Chimaerus, to be honest. If you need the ad damage, Frost. Belo'ren, Unholy. Lura, possibly Unholy. That's my 2 cents. What do you guys think? I've just rambled for about half an hour talking to you guys about bosses and how they mix and match with our damage profiles. But I hope it's been interesting to hear my thoughts. It's kind of like this is like my preparation to what I will do going ahead of the rave, and how I'll prepare, and what cooldowns I'll make sure I'm ready, and what spec I'll make sure it's ready. But when the question is, what spec do I play next season? To be honest, play both if you want to be ahead of the curve, honestly. If you want to get ahead of the curve, probably doesn't matter. If you want to be cutting edge, just play both specs, honestly. They both have their own benefits and they're definitely worthwhile. But thank you very much for watching, everybody. If you like the video, then like the video. If you want to stay up to date for more DK news and everything else, subscribe to me. And if you're interested in my UI or coaching, then hit me up on Discord. I have a very lovely community. I love my Discord. I love everyone that's in it and everyone that talks. Brings a tear to my eye to look at the community that I've made over the past year, actually. Gone from 1,000 subscribers last year to 8,000 now. It's pretty nuts. I'm super chuffed and so thankful for all of you. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. All right, peace out. Bye.